Mr. Sunga, Mr. Gumezde, welcome to the Bundespressekonferenz. We are happy to have you here with us. Mr. Sunga, please present us your review, your presentation.
The working group found that racial profiling by police officials is endemic. Stop and search controls by police are usually targeted at minority groups, including people of African descent. Boys and young men experience day-to-day cooperation, or rather confrontation, with law enforcement with higher risk of imprisonment. The repeated denial that racial profiling does not exist in Germany by police authorities, and the lack of an independent complaint mechanism at federal and state level fosters impunity. The working group is concerned by the failure to investigate effectively and provide justice in cases of racial discrimination and violence against people of African descent by the state, in particular by the police. One example is the case of Mr. Oury Jalloh, an African asylum seeker who died in police custody in Dessau in 2005. There are concerns with regards to racial bias in his arrest and ill treatment by the police, the use of physical restraints, and gaps in the investigation into the cause of death. The working group believes that institutional racism and racial stereotyping by the criminal justice system has led to a failure to investigate effectively and prosecute perpetrators. There has been no independent inquiry. The working group is also concerned about the harassment of human rights defenders who are doing their best to seek justice and truth in this case. The working group was also informed about other cases. Osman Say, who died in police custody in 2012 in Dortmund, and Dayem Mariami Sar, shot by police officers when she went to pick up her child from her white ex-husband. Christy Schwanbeck, shot by police in a job center in Frankfurt, Maine, in 2011. And Maria El Sherbini, a young North African woman, who was stabbed to death in the High Court in Dresden before her 3-year-old son and the judge in June 2009. The following recommendations are intended to assist Germany in its efforts to combat all forms of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, Afrophobia, and related intolerance. The government of Germany should establish an independent inquiry with the inclusion of the Oury Jalloh initiative into the case of Oury Jalloh to investigate events that led to his death in custody, investigate and prosecute those responsible, and investigate those who have harassed and intimidated the human rights defenders seeking justice in this case. End criminalization of men of African descent and combat effectively and end any practice of racial profiling by federal and state law enforcement officials, including by amending or repealing Section 22, Paragraph 1 of the establishing of the Federal Police Act and legally prohibiting discriminatory profiling, establishing independent mechanisms of complaints at both the federal and state levels to investigate acts of racial discrimination committed by law enforcement officials.